Hello everyone and welcome to the #Rugby Chat podcast. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a website, a podcast, a Twitter account and a YouTube channel bringing you the best in rugby predictions and opinion. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcasting app so we drop into your phone every week. Also, please leave us a 5-star review. Other stars are available, but why would you want to? If you want to watch what happens behind the covers, the show's live on YouTube at 8 p.m. New Zealand time every Tuesday. So do join us. And tonight we have a full house. I have with me, and I'm going to go through in the order that they logged in and how prepared they were. So first up, we have Jess. How you doing, Jess?
I'm good, thank you.
Feeling a year older? Have a good birthday weekend?
I had a very full-on birthday weekend, and I had a great little surprise with Damien re-signing, so that was nice.
Oh, I'm sure he re-signed it just for you.
I think so.
And Ryan, how you doing, sir? Long time no see, I think.
Well, since Thursday, so...
Thursday? Oh, geez. This is
how many shows you do at the moment, Paul. Just like churning them out one after the other.
It was a good
crazy. Good weekend of sport. And the Blues won, so yes. They
did. And this is a we go from feast to famine. This is going to be a Blues stacked podcast tonight. With Jess looking like she's moving and running away already because she's the only non-Blues supporter here.
We had a bye. I'm fine. You can talk about what you want.
And finally, Ashwin, who threw on his jumper and was running around at the last minute. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, yeah, I've had better days, so looking forward to turning it around with a bit of chat on rugby.
Fabulous. Time to de-stress and all of that kind of stuff. So this week we'll be talking about Super Rugby again. Particularly round 4, and also we'll be talking about drinks. And yes, I've had a couple tonight, so hopefully we keep it all together. But anyway, straight on, let's get in there. We saw Hannigan and Fafita at lock. So is this a trend of having loose forwards in the tight positions, or is it just having loose tight forwards? How do you see this going? Because to me, I'm not sure that they were all that it really kind of fitted in with in the scrum, etc. I think that we saw some of the weaknesses of having loose forwards in the tight 5. And who wants? Actually, Ryan, you had some thoughts prior to the show, so you take us away.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit more of a. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's a horses for courses type thing. If you look at the Lions on the weekend as an example, they had Franco Mostert playing blindside. So I mean, there's a case of going the other way and adding some bulk to your pack. And taking away a bit of mobility. There's been a few teams too that have gone for 6-2 splits in the reserves. So perhaps not so much looking for mobility there, but looking for a little bit more forward impact around that hour mark. And I think in that Blues game, as an example, they really added something with their bench, and that was a reserves bench that included Scrafton at lock and Tupou, who's a lock come blindside. So, I do think it's a case of, who's your opponent? What are you looking to do with your tactics? The Sunwolves are another one. They've used Willie Brits at lock, but then last week he went back to number 8. So yeah, I think just a week by week sort of case by case thing.
Well, I think for the Sunwolves, it's been a matter of let's try and find 15 players who can get on the pitch.
That's true.
Rather than necessarily a horses for courses. They've got some serious number of injuries, and we're similar at the Chiefs. I mean, with 15 players out, they've got a lot of injuries as well. But at the Canes, is Fafita really a lock, or is he a number 6? Do we think?
I think you've got maybe Fafita's filling in for Fatty Lofa, who came back off the bench. He's been injured for a long time, sat out the entire NPC last year after doing his knee, I think, in one of the last rounds or in the final series for Super Rugby. So I think it could be just the case of, as Ryan saying, horses for courses, injuries coming into play, and then also sort of like do you go with your 4th-rated lock, or do you put in a powerhouse blindside into the second row, or vice versa as well?
Yeah, I mean, there was lots of talk about Tom Croft for a while being potentially a lock or a 6, and he ended up being a 6 because he wasn't it wasn't heavyweight enough for the pack. And I think seeing Hannigan there for the Tars, their pack really struggled at scrum time. He didn't have the weight to put in there. So to me, I'm not comfortable with trying to play. England clearly played Courtney Laws at 6 for a while now in that reverse role of trying to have a heavier back row, and I don't think that works because it's too slow to break down.
Too slow to break down.
And we've seen them turned over both by the French and by the Scottish at breakdown. But
Yeah,
I was just one thing you've just alluded to there, and one thing that you don't really think about unless you're really super technical, is the fact is that everybody sort of thinks in the scrum that you've got the power coming from your tight head, and there is obviously an element of that, it's quite a big element, but there's a huge amount of grunt comes in from that second row from your locks, and there's the term of a good scrumming lock, and it's the big guys that are usually good at that. So that's an element you have to think about as well.
There's a reason why they call it the engine room.
Yep.
So I think it's, whilst the scrum perhaps isn't seen as being such an important thing anymore, with where we're talking about having mobile props rather than scrummaging props, to me, I think the scrum is still important. The Blues got away with it at the weekend because they on their own scrums, they got the ball out quick, and they were straight channel one, get it out, let's go. Whereas a lot of teams aren't hooking the ball that well, and they need the stability in the scrum. They don't get it out so quickly. I know Brian Moore talks a lot about basically you can lock the scrum briefly while you do that if you do a quick hook, but a lot of teams haven't got hookers that can do that anymore. It's
not only that, but it's a new facet to the game, isn't it? This put the ball under your own hooker's feet, but he has to hook it. It is a new element this year, so I'm thinking it's teams are still working out how that works, and as I say, what Brian Moore alluded to, locking that scrum so you can actually get the heel, as they used to call it in the old days.
Yeah, well, we've gone back to what it used to be, right? With trying to actually get a hook, whereas the last sort of decade, your front row's been set up to basically just try and shove the other team with the ball and win the scrum that way, and that's where scrum gurus like Mike Cron have come into it. I think too the fact that the locks now, there's a far greater technical component to scrummaging than I think there ever was in days gone by, where it just used to be, if you've got the size and power, that kind of
did the job.
Now a lot more science and sort of study to the technique.
And I think the whole hooking thing's been coming in for about sort of 2 or 3 years now, because I mean Thomas Youngs of the England and Tigers hooker complained that he'd never actually had to learn how to hook, and you're like, seriously, mate, you're a professional hooker. I mean, you've never had to hook, and yeah, it literally did die out, and it was just about pushing and getting that hit. But now that they've had to bring it back, it's kind of a bit retro. Perhaps hooking is the new. Oh, I've gone blank. You search a word and you go, what's craft beer and one-speed bikes? What are they? They're
hipster.
Hipster. Hooking's the new hipster. There you go. Hookers are hipsters nowadays. If you can hook, you're a hipster.
I like that professional hooking comment.
Oh dear me. Your mind is one track, sir. So, any final thoughts on locks or on back rowers at lock?
Yeah, I suppose this one thing is that, I mean, like when you start looking at that the engine room, and now you're starting to look at that back row, aside from the 7 possibly, they're all starting to become pretty big. They're all becoming line out components, so they've all got size. So hey, it could just be coming down to a technique thing these days, as Ryan was alluding to.
I think there's also a size. There is definitely still a size thing. You can have all the technique in the world, but there is a certain amount. You do need a certain amount of power and weight. There was one Irish prop that I can remember now who used to go backwards when playing for Ireland, but when he was playing for Leinster, he was solid as houses. And I've gone yeah, here we go. Here on blank as to the Kiwi lock who was playing at Leinster at the time. But basically, when you had the did Brad Thorne play for Leinster? I don't want to say that, but I got the wrong.
Yeah, I think he did actually.
So,
yep, Brad Thorne played for Leinster.
So I think the comment was basically, look, if you've got Brad Thorne at your backside, as opposed to one of the Irish locks, you've got a much more chance of having a stable scrum. And so I do think there's still that element of, yes, there's technique, but there's also size and power. Yeah. And yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, you do that weight will always tell. So I've just realised I asked question 2 first. So for those for the thank you.
You're toying with us.
I wasn't. Yeah, toying with you. Yeah, no, live on the edge. You know, got to keep you guessing. It's a crazy world out there. Yes. So question 1 coming in at question 2. Have the Blues turned the corner with the overseas win over the Lions? Again, Ryan.
Isn't it not fair to ask the 3 of you?
No, I'm actually no.
Aren't you going to have a slightly biased opinion?
I'm going to go with Jess. Go, Jess. You're the only non-Blue supporter here, so you take us first on this one. How the Blues turn the corner?
I think that they deserved the win that they got, and I think it's impressive, particularly with the travel factor. I don't want them to have turned a corner because that means that Chiefs have to fall under that. But I said from the start, before any games were actually even played, that I thought the Blues were going to have a really good year. So why not? Maybe they were just settling into their positions. Okay, now I'm going to go to another Blues supporter who will probably give the opposite opinion. Okay.
We've talked about this already. So last night, how did the Blues turn the corner, or was it just a night where things came off?
Yeah, I think it was we talked about, that last 20 in particular where things started to come off. There was elements of that where you sort of looked at that game and thought, well, actually, there's nothing too different from how they played in the first 2 games. And then there was also the element in that last 20 of where, again, something we discussed in yesterday's program, the review of the rounds, where we're sort of scratching our heads in terms of trying to fathom what the Lions were thinking in that last 5 minutes. In the way that they were playing, you're just sort of like scratching your head, sort of thing. So, look, the skill factors there. We've always said that. We've always sort of also mentioned the fact, or I have, is the fact that the top 2 inches that are the biggest factor. And what I hope that has come out of that Lions victory is part of starting of a self-belief that they can do it. And one thing that was definitely different in that Lions game, is that we're just used to the Blues stuffing it up with a minute to go to win the game. I mentioned I think it was last year, Patrick Tuipulotu, basically charging towards the line and knocking the ball on as, just short of the line sort of thing, and the game's over. Obviously, the crooked throw-in against the Chiefs that basically ended the game. So to see Murphy Taramai actually go over the line and score the try and finish the job, also a huge mental barrier that could have been broken.
What do you want to see from the Blues this tournament? What do you think they're lacking so far?
It's decision making is key. Decision making's the biggest problem is poor decision making on when to actually push the pass and when not to push the pass.
Is it a confidence thing? Do you think that could get better?
It's a hard one to actually. It's a valid question, really. It's a confidence. It could be a confidence thing. It could just be the rub of the green. Yeah. But you'd sort of like to think that, hey, look, things aren't coming off today. We just need to taper it back a bit, and not throw that miracle ball. Maybe just set it up, and then we're already on the front foot. Set it up, and then go quickly. Sort of those sorts of decision making, and just better decision making.
I mean,
I'm not sure that I do it.
There's still elements of that on the weekend. They got to within 4 points. The bench had made an impact. They'd got themselves back in the game. They win a kicking duel 20 meters out, and what do? Take a quick throw in on halfway, concede a penalty, concede the territory, end up conceding a try back to 11. So have they turned a corner?
Yeah,
possibly with the confidence. But
that's a brilliant example. That's a perfect example. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're talking about. Even the commentators saying, you got to line out at about on the 22, on the opposition's 22. You're attacking. The ball's gone out at halfway, and you do a quick throw and basically 30 odd meters up the field. what's going on in your head when you need to go, you're still 4 points behind. Those sorts of decisions, Jess, are what you're looking for is a better decision making. It's like, no, slow it down. We're 30 meters up the field. We don't quick throw in, sort of thing. So that sort of thing. I mean, look, again, though, one of the things you can take out of the weekend's game is that they were delayed by a day getting there. They've had a demoralising loss to the Chiefs because, let's face it, we know that they should have won that. When you had 15 players out and you lost Sean Stevenson and Brady Retallick before the game.
And the Blues can't be bothered throwing it in straight for the whole game, not just the last time. Yeah, sure.
But exactly, you're right. But that's it, So the fact that they actually did get the win out of the game builds that confidence. They're in a similar situation against the Stormers this week as the Chiefs game, where they've got like a truckload of players out. The Stormers got a truckload of players out. They've returned from a pretty bad trip to New Zealand. The Blues really have to turn up, and if it's going to be turned around, they got to show that this week by winning again. There
were a couple of, I guess, moments in that game that I thought did show a little bit of character from the Blues. So I thought in seasons gone past, when the intercept try happened, that would have just been it, capitulation with floodgates open, but they fought back from that. Even that try 5 minutes from the end where they clawed back to within 4, then back to 11 points, that could have just been, give up the ghost kind of thing. So it was good to see a little bit of character there in the way they fought back. The proof's now going to be how they build on that.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, there's also the benefit of the fact that there's a couple of players that have just come in as well that have been either injured or whatever. So
yeah, okay. So it's a Blues team that didn't give up, which is nice to see. So there's an improvement on that side of things. But let's be honest, if the Lions hadn't knocked on the charge down just before that final try, the game's over because they would have been 2 scores ahead with a couple of minutes to go. So this wasn't a Ireland-esque, we've got the ball now, we're going to control things, and we're going to go up the field and score the points we need to win it, and we're not going to give the opposition any chance at all. This was a Blues, we're still going to throw the ball around and try and win, but it came off tonight. The Lions stuffed up their opportunity, which they shouldn't have done. They should have he should have scored that try from the charge down, and yeah, so the Lions definitely had the opportunities to score that game, and I think the Blues got a bit let off. Now, the fact that they actually kept fighting to the end is a good sign, but to say they've turned a corner around around having a controlled game, I don't think so. A couple of comments from the live chat. Brent goes, yeah, fast and loose is how they play. If it came off, we would be lauding them for a 20-point win. Exactly, yeah. So the Blues can score points, but they will also give up points.
The concern I've got is that if they come up against the Lions weren't quite as cohesive in their forward pack on the weekend. When they come up against like a Crusaders outfit in particular with a cohesive pack, then they need to muscle up, and that's one thing I need to see still from their Blues forward pack is where they're muscling up and beating up the opposition up front.
Yeah, and it didn't help that they lost Warren Whiteley in their back row either. So there was disruption in that pack.
I mean, for 60 minutes of that game, the Blues were completely outplayed. They were fortunate to score that try right before half-time off the back of a turnover 20 metres out and then some Akira Ioane brilliance. I mean, they could have been dead at half-time without that. And losing Whiteley for the Lions, I think he was the voice that they needed, the leader, to just say, look, we've got this game in the bag. Let's shut it down. Let's control possession. Let's play territory. They're at altitude, kick it down, make the Blues come back from their own 22. But without Whiteley's leadership, they're missing Jaco Creel as well. The Lions, I think, just didn't hand them the game, but handed them the opportunity.
Yeah, we talked about that last night in terms of, sorry, Paul. It was like, but I was just going to say with Malcolm Marx.
Go on, finish off. You've already ignored my entire piece of putting my hand up saying, I'm next. No, please, feel free. Off you go.
So I was just going to say, that within the last 5 minutes, Malcolm Marx running the ball wide, and it's just like, that's where you just tuck it up and the forwards just basically hold it in tight and don't let the ball go, normally.
And yeah, and that comes down to Christian's comment just now is, well, it's not easy going to Ellis Park and get a result. Normally it's not. But the Lions had the opportunity to put this game away. Joshua goes, doesn't matter how they won, they beat the Lions who made the finals. And then he says, anyway, it gets sliced. It is a notable result, but people love to pick apart the Blues. Okay, we've got 3 Blues supporters on here.
I was the only one that was pro Blues. So.
Yeah, it's pro Blues. But we want to be pro Blues, but we also have to be realistic. We've
when
had
they deserve it, yeah.
Exactly. We've had our hopes too high before. Yeah, it's as an Auckland fan, you don't get your hopes too high because you know that they'll get dashed down if you're not careful.
You can just support another team if you want. If that's
Never.
easy for you.
It's still bleed blue.
Big blue and yellow for the Highlanders.
As we say in the UK, yeah, royalty bleeds blue. Anyway, but no, yeah, the Blues perhaps do get picked apart more than others. But at the end of the day, it was a big win for the Blues. It's going to be good for their confidence. But as far as turning a corner and they're going to push on from here, they need to prove it more. And there's been quite a few comments in here saying, yep, they need to prove it against the Stormers next week. A Stormers team, as Ashwin says, travelled back from New Zealand, has injuries, is not as class as the Lions. So the Blues perhaps go into this one as slight favourites, unlike they did, whereas they went in as very much underdogs against the Lions. Can they cope with that, with the expectation a week later? That is what we're going to find out. Sorry, Ryan?
Back at sea level as well, which will be a help for the Blues.
Absolutely, that's very true. Yep, and back at sea level. So, the fun question of the evening now. We need to have themed drinks for watching each team. So, now, not all beers here, folks. We want to mix them up a bit with some other drinks. But, Jess, your hand was up straight away. Come on.
Well, mine's a beer, but I invented something called the Hamilton cocktail.
Oh God!
It's basically a Waikato draft can with a little slice of lemon cut and put on the top, like a garnish. Quite classy.
Now
for like
keeping it classy
at a bar.
at Beavers.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about something not a beer for Hamilton.
No. Okay. It can be a beer.
Okay.
But that one is perfect.
It's not bad. I've tried it. It's not bad.
But okay, a can of Waikato draft with a lime on it is, and you're going to hate this, but
okay.
it is kind of country bumpkin, as we say in the UK, or a bit kind of
maybe that's our brand.
A bit kind of sort of bogan with the can.
If you want bogan, I'll sit on that for a second.
Well, if it's a bit bogan, I think that's perfect for the Chiefs. So
it's a bit harsh, but I can see somebody with a can of Waikato draft and a lime in it with a rat's tail. Is all I'm saying.
I think.
Go on, Ryan.
I think the Blues
has to be really strong to get you through the game.
Well, I just think actually Ponsonby Road latte when I think of the Blues, probably with almond milk or something naff.
Really, because I was thinking it had to be something that tasted nice originally, but they went sour in your mouth. Because let's be honest, they were great originally, but they've been poor for so long since then.
Well,
so something that has a bit of bitter aftertaste that tastes nice originally.
I was just going to keep it classy and go vodka martini with a twist.
Yeah, no, come on, no. Okay, we're not. This is not the LA Blues. Okay, this is or the New York Blues. It's not old blue from New York. We are talking Auckland here. Our casino is Sky City. It's not somewhere James Bond's going to turn up to, is it? Let's be honest.
I think
depends who his villain is.
I could imagine him coming in to save Sky Tower with Jaws coming in to try and blow it up.
Okay. No. Anyway, a couple. Obviously, for the Highlanders, it has to be Spates. They sponsor it. They all wear Spates jumpsuits in the zoo along with animal outfits. Were you wearing your Spates jersey on the weekend down there, Jess?
No, I didn't wear anything related
to
Highlanders because. Well, as soon as I found out that Damien wasn't going down there, I didn't really see a need to sort of be on board. that much. I'm actually glad I didn't. The stadium was much different than I was expecting.
Oh, really? Because
I thought it would be really exciting and everyone would be really into it, but no one was really talking. And the zoo was not full. The halftime entertainment was just two people dressed in chicken suits sort of dancing. Like, not together, not choreographed, just dancing. There was a little blimp that was dropping like pieces of paper for kids to catch. It was really weird.
Phony war.
Huh?
Like the phony war.
Yeah, it was weird.
The crowd wasn't very good at the weekend.
No.
It looked pretty empty in there. There were a few people in the zoo, but it definitely was not full. But apart from that, yeah, as you say, from watching on TV,
I'm glad I didn't dress up that
wasn't
much.
great. So
Canterbury, you can get Canterbury Draft as well. Big,
Double
bit of
round.
bit of CD down in Canterbury town.
Yeah, but So I did say I don't want to try and make it a beers for every single one of them.
Yeah.
I don't want to make an earthquake joke, but something shaken, not stirred, maybe. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Crash. I love you.
Nice. No, I do. I like that one. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So here you go. Dry martini is the.
Wellington's going to be bougie, obviously. It's going to be something that's crafted somewhere very specific, and there's only 2 liters of it in the world.
Yeah.
It's got some really weird, like, flour in it for some reason.
Organically sourced.
Yeah, it's organically sourced, ethically sourced, only touched by vegans through the craft process, something like that.
Floyd in Pink, yes, we'll come back to your question. Sorry, we are taking a fun 20 minutes to talk about drinks, but we'll come back to proper rugby in a second. So a couple from on the old Twitter.
Yeah.
So Rebels is Melbourne breakfast tea. So it's Melbourne, but also tea as in tea party, as in Rebels. I think I quite like that little twist. And then the Reds, because it is so hot up in Canberra, lemon ice drinks, which I think is lemon drinks. The bucket of ice is definitely.
Bit of Bundy.
Sydney have the lockout laws, so they're probably like a glass of water. Gotta go home by 12. So.
And no water in Cape Town, so let's not go there.
Oh.
I've spent a bit of time in South Africa and up in the Lions franchise, and I was amazed that they drink brandy and Coke. So maybe the Lions a bit of Richelieu, which seems to be their brandy of choice up there.
With a bit of Coke.
With some Coke.
The drink.
Not a mix I'd make, but they seemed quite into it. As well as the little Bocker shots.
Bocker shots?
They sound interesting.
That are outside the bar that can't get in because they don't have ID.
Oh, Western Forces, is from the offie.
They're at home.
Dear me. Cool. Okay, let's get back onto the rugby then. So Pink Floyd to the panel. He said, sorry, Floyd in Pink to the panel. When was the last time the Blues beat the Chiefs?
I think they said 2006.
Really?
I think
they had a draw, didn't they, last year?
Drew last year.
Yeah, there was a Drew last year at Eden Park. Yeah. Was it so, Ryan?
So, Ryan, go on.
Yeah, I just count the draw because it's not a loss. So, I mean, that's a moral victory.
We'll take it.
That's how desperate we get up in the capital. I was looking around for my green notepad where I had all my notes from the game, but unfortunately it's downstairs. So I'm thinking that there's only been one win by an away team in a New Zealand derby for a long time, or I think the Blues have only won one New Zealand derby since 2012, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere. That's really sad.
I'm not sure when it was against the Chiefs.
Do you think that's a mental thing for them now? That they know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
totally
it's not nice how they say it before the game. They do the stats of like, they haven't won at this park. They did it to the Chiefs the other day when they were playing someone. They haven't won at this park in 10 years or something. And it's like, well, that's not going to help them feel positive about it.
To be fair, they're not watching the TV though, so.
Yeah. But I'm watching.
It's the psychic energy, as Mex would say.
I just need to ask: Did Paul just call Auckland the capital?
Yeah, that's what I thought too, actually.
Oops, I've been caught out. Thank you, Josh, for that comment in the chat there. Fine, it's not the capital, but it is the largest city in the country, and it is also the economical capital. I'll call
Ooh.
You go.
Oops.
No, just like actually in terms of that mental block thing, coming back to when we're discussing the Blues turning the corner, that's the thing that they can take away, which we referred to as the fact is that to break down those mental barriers is to take things like finishing the game off, actually just winning with adversity. All those sorts of things can help break down those mental barriers. But at the end of the day, the Blues have got severe mental blocks now.
Yeah, I guess
in
it
terms of
comes
playing
from like
New
a
Zealand team.
self-fulfilling prophecy that, we're going to blow it anyway. Like, they probably have that in their mind to a certain extent.
Well,
Yeah, the subconscious.
Yeah.
I think Paul and I talked about this on Thursday. Is a team like the Crusaders or the All Blacks go to that late line out thinking we're going to win the line out, we're going to score, we're going to win. Whereas I think the Blues walk up to the line out going, how are we going
to stuff this one up this week?
Yeah, and before you know, you have. So
yeah.
So okay, we have the official answer. So Jack Darby goes 2011 is officially the last time the Blues beat the Chiefs. Ouch. So so clearly the reverse fixture down in Hamilton is when it's going to happen next.
It was 7 years ago. I was 20 when they last won.
And now you've nearly got a gold card.
I know. I'm practically 30.
Oh, dearie me. So yes, that's a long time ago. Now we've put enough pain through the Blue supporters. So let's now just hammer the nail into my chest and go on with the next one then. With Ireland climbing above England into second in the world ranks, which All Blacks game are you most looking forward to this year? And for those of you who are listening and online, I'll just run through the All Blacks fixture list this year. So they start off with 3 games against France in Eden Park, Westpac, and Forsyth Bar. They then go over to Australia to play Australia in Sydney. They host Australia at Eden Park for the return fixture. They then host Argentina in Nelson, South Africa in Wellington, head over to Buenos Aires to play Argentina and play the All Blacks in Pretoria. So that's obviously all part of the Rugby Championship. The All Blacks in Australia are going to play their third Bledisloe Cup game in Japan this year before the All Blacks play Japan over in Tokyo. And then the All Blacks play England, Ireland, and Italy in successive weekends in November. So which game are you most looking forward to this year?
So basically, I was obviously, like a lot of All Blacks fans, looking forward to that England test in London. But for me, I was actually thinking that's going to be a massive game, and then we're going to have to follow it up against a very strong Ireland game the following week. So it would sort of taken on equal importance, basically, with that England test match anyway. And now with the way that the Ireland are travelling, it sort of made it even more sort of wow, looking forward to that game. In saying that, I'm not saying this just for the, I don't know. I actually do look forward to every All Blacks test. I love watching All Blacks play, and I do actually look forward to watching every All Blacks test.
I'm looking forward to Australia because I need Michael Cheika back in my life. So that's probably the one highest on my list. Also, though, the Argentina test in Nelson, I think that's going to be just a big occasion for the first test down there.
I really like when New Zealand play France. I like watching all the games, but I really like when they play France. I feel like they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder when they play France. France always seems to get to them a little bit.
But is that really? Obviously, the 2015 Rugby World Cup, when they absolutely thumped France in Cardiff to basically lay the ghosts of whenever it was before to rest. Oh, sorry, go on, Ryan.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Try to block it out, but it plays again.
Oh dear. I think a lot of grace related for us there. France will turn up in that first test with missing a whole bunch of players who are still playing in the French domestic finals. And so they won't really have their full team back together again until it's the second test, and those guys will have just been getting off the plane as well. So France lost 3-0 to. No, I'll put it wrong now they lost 3-0 to South Africa last June, and let's be honest, South Africa were not at their strongest last year. So you got to. I'm not sure those games are going to be competitive at all.
I like the French team.
You like looking at the French.
I mean, I'm not mad. Yeah, no, they have a lot of passion. I mean, so do Argentina, I guess. But yeah.
Oh.
Oh, dearie me. So to me, obviously, I'm going to look forward to England versus All Blacks because we've not played, because that game has not been, that matchup hasn't been played for so long. So it becomes a biggie. I do want England going better than they have done recently because it makes it much more of a contest. Ireland, clearly number 2 in the world against number 1. That's always a big one. And the other game that's going to be that I think is going to be big is South Africa look to be much on the rise under Erasmus. They look to be trading better. Erasmus, I think they've got a better coach. And so I think that the away game in South Africa could be a cracker too.
We'll get a good indication. We'll get a good indication of how good that South African team is because they've got to play 3 tests against England.
After playing Wales in Wellington, DC,
Washington, DC.
Washington, DC, after made that mistake again. Did that on the last podcast, didn't I?
Just leave the capital cities alone, Paul.
Jeez. Okay. After playing Wales in the USA, they come back and play England the next weekend at home. It's almost, the English team have got over jet lag quicker, or having more time to get over the jet lag than the South African team will have done, which seems a little bit strange. But anyway, that'll be good. Christian, never write off France. Come on, France have been awful for the past 10 years.
They were awful last week.
Okay.
They have been awful for about the last 10 hours.
This is my
fair comment, Paul.
You'll be nice to me.
Okay. They have been. They have actually been. I mean, that nobody expected last week, did we? I mean, we thought they'd put a fight up, but we didn't expect them to actually come out on top.
But that's France to a T, Just as everyone's writing them off, they pick up a win out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Nothing.
So, yeah.
The try from the end of the earth.
Oh dear. Anyway, so I'm glad you're all enjoying it in the live chat there. But Josh, let's move on. Josh, what about player welfare in all these discussions? Token talk by agents and admins. Absolutely. Who saw the Ireland game at the weekend? And Cronin, who took a head knock, was staggering around for about 5 minutes as play continued, and then they claim he had a stinger afterwards. Now,
the stinger on the head.
Absolutely. If you look back on what happened to him, he got hit around the head. He did not get hit on the shoulder at all, and he got hit on the head. So he should have been off straight away. And to see them claim afterwards that it was a stinger and not to put him through HIAs is disgusting. There is player welfare is a problem still, and anyone who thinks that we've got over this is I was going to say it needs a head sing to, but realize that's actually the wrong thing to say.
Unintended pun. Not a pun, but
yes, exactly. So clearly, player welfare and flying off from South Africa all the way over to the USA to play a game against Wales and fly straight back again to South Africa to play England shows disregard for player welfare. I understand they need the money to try and keep their players in South Africa, but it's a bit of a joke. Schedule.
But to be fair, there was a good moment of player welfare on the weekend, and that was Sam Whitelock incident, because he actually carried on playing, and then in the next stoppage or the a subsequent stoppage in play, the referee actually called Sam Whitelock over and says the sideline doctor has actually said that you have to go off for a HIA. So that wasn't the team doctor. It wasn't, and it was actually the match doctor, as I understand it, that actually said no. He's seen the footage on TV, and Sam Whitelock has to come off for an HIA, and he never came back.
It's a shame though that we're talking about that as a good moment when that's the way it should be.
It should be.
So I mean, one of the things that I think came out of the whole French incidents, at the start of the Six Nations, was that are we going down the path where internationals need neutral match doctors, which is just ludicrous. Doctors are doctors and they should be. Go on, Paul.
But if they're
okay, so the French situation was actually a neutral doctor pulling him off, which is what's really kind of crazy. It was apparently it was the neutral match. It was a neutral match doctor who called those players off when clearly they'd been hit on the knee. And once a doctor has said that, the referee has got no choice but to follow the referee's advice.
But my point is that doctor was French.
He was, but he wasn't a French.
No.
He wasn't
a team doctor.
A French team doctor. He was the neutral. He was the okay. For those of you on the podcast, I'm now using my fingers to do quote marks. But yeah, it was the, air quotes. Yeah, it was the neutral French referee because the match is in France. And I understand we're going to have neutral refs being flown around the world. Are we now going to say we have to fly neutral doctors around the world?
Well, we shouldn't, but that's what I'm saying. Is that where we're heading?
We could use doctors without borders.
Doctors without loyalty. There we go.
Doctors Without Borders. Oh dear, love it. So yeah. For those of you that aren't aware, Doctors Without Borders is a French charity that sends doctors around the world. Which is so yes, it's a sad state of affairs when we're saying we have to bring in neutral doctors, and that's just if the game's gone to that stage, I'm not sure I want to bother watching it anymore. To be honest, I think it's lost its moral soul at that point.
Yeah, but hey, look, coming back to the original question from well, I think we all agree that it seems like it's lip service in terms of player welfare out there.
Yep.
Do you think South Africa will send a first string team to the US? Or do they send a second string side and leave the first string team back home to prepare for England?
Valid point.
So South Africa suggested at one point that they would have a Northern Hemisphere team and a Southern Hemisphere team. So does this mean that actually, and this was supposedly around the conditions and part of having the Cheetahs and the Kings playing in the Northern Hemisphere competition is that they would be more used to Northern Hemisphere conditions and therefore they would be better equipped for Northern Hemisphere games. I don't know. It would be really interesting if they decided to pick a team purely from the Cheetahs and the Kings for that game, and it would back up their comments last year. I think their comments last year were purely for the press and a bit of a joke.
How about the fact that they actually just pick a team out of the Northern Hemisphere, not necessarily just the Cheetahs and Kings, but actually out of the Northern Hemisphere and send them over to the US? Because they've openly stated that they're not going to, like with us, obviously we don't pick anybody that plays overseas. The Australians have, what is it? You have to play 3 million tests and played 8 billion years for locally before you go overseas. But I think South Africa's basically said, no, we'll pick Northern Hemisphere players to play in the Springboks. So maybe they'll pick an entire team.
Yeah, Razzie said he would include players playing overseas nowadays. Kirksey did try for a while to pick only homegrown players, and definitely would try and prefer to play homegrown players. But it looks like they're going to mix it up going on now. Andre, yeah, second string is what they think, but we'll see how it will go. And there's quite a few comments in the sideline here that all think it's going to be a second string team, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Just briefly on there, Brent goes asks, "Where's Mike this morning?" I can only really have 3 guests at a time, so we'll have Mike again. I do try and rotate people because not everyone is as mad as me and wants to do a show every single night of the week, sometimes twice. I try not to burn out all my guests.
We're all madly searching the capital of every country. Trying to check for you. Keep your reputation intact.
I think, yes, at this stage it's quite clearly I have no reputation. Moving on, I have a reputation, but it's in the dirt and shredded to pieces. Finally, is home advantage becoming more significant in Super Rugby? In the opening round, both games were won by the home team. Round 2, 6 games were won by the home team, only 1 away. Round 3 was the abnormality with 2 home wins, a draw, and 4 away wins. Round 4, 6 home wins and 1 away win. Now remember, 2 of those away wins have been against the Sunwolves, so it really is 9 wins, 1 draw, and 4 away wins. So, what do you think are the? Have we been seeing a more onus more on the home teams, or is it just how the draw's gone?
Well, there's no travel factor. They can be with their families during the week. The weather is something that they're used to. Like, there's so many things that go into a home game.
Yep, and it's borne out by the fact that, generally speaking, your TAB odds or your betting odds are going to sort of be favourable towards the home team, even if they're not the favourites. The odds still shorten because they're playing at home.
Yeah,
and that's usually a good indicator.
Being a non-betting man, I never check that, but I'll be honest. But I understand it is important. But do you think it's been more important this season, or do you think it's just been just the standard and I'm overplaying it? Because personally, I think it's been more top 14 style than previously. When we know the top 14 is very home based.
Don't know. I'll give a hard pass on this question.
I'm trying to think of the teams that have played away. They've all had to travel quite far, right?
There's kind of balance though, because you get teams that are then, especially as the season goes on, you get teams like the Stormers this week who'll be at home, but have actually done more traveling than the team they're facing. So, maybe it's a little bit of statistical anomaly. I think you'd have to crunch it against previous seasons to see how it is after 3 rounds, 4 rounds. What are we? 3.5 rounds.
It's probably really hard for teams to listen to those cowbells. So maybe that gives the Chiefs an advantage when they're at home.
Oh, dear, you see.
And we need the Blues have to listen to silence. So
yeah.
Perhaps they should play the sound of silence is the song that is the Blues theme song for the rest of the year.
No, we've turned the corner. We've debated this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Blues 2018 gonna win it. Gonna win the whole thing.
It's our house at Eden Park next home game.
No. Oh, it's at Easter, man. It's not. Oh. It's Easter weekend.
When is Easter?
2 weeks.
Oh no.
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yes. So I'm here this weekend. I'm up in Auckland next weekend. And the weekend after is Easter. There you go, folks. Now you know when to rob my house.
Thank you.
Anyway, Floyd and Pink says, Blues versus Chiefs, Canes versus Satyrs. Clearly, the Chiefs don't have to travel far to the Blues, but they won. The Canes had more travel, but were playing at home, and they won against the Satyrs, who only had to go a short flight. So it's not always the Canes even had home advantage then when they had travelled much more than the opposition.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just like there is a big focus within the teams of winning your home games to make it to the into the top 8 and into the high places and top 8. The focus on is making sure you win your home games and pick up away games to actually build your points tally.
I did a whole video on talking about home advantage, and I put this theory forward that players love routines. They're very routine based. When I read, and I didn't finish it because I just don't read books very well. But Jerry Collins' book, he talked about how he did the exact same thing every single time, an hour before playoff, half an hour before playoff, 50 minutes. He had the same routine every single game. Now, if you're at home, you know the seat you sit in. You know how it feels walking down that tunnel. You know that you turn the same way out that tunnel. You know your practice is in the same place with the same stands around you, with the same fans around you. Hopefully ones that like you and shout nice things to you. But it's all familiar. It all feeds into that routine that then goes on to playing. And I think that routine, I think players are part of routine. I think the psychology of rugby or sports psychology is about routine, is about getting your head in the right place. I think that all builds in to home advantage. It's not just that 16th man shouting. But there you go. That's just my philosophy. After that last question bombed, let's move on to the predictions for the week. And we'll go from left to right as the pictures on here show. So Chiefs versus Bulls. How do you call it, Ashwin?
Chiefs, Bulls, at home, Chiefs.
I'll be there, by the way, if that helps sway anything.
Yep, absolutely. You'll be ringing that cowbell. But I mean, as said, Chiefs, Bulls. Bulls do need to lift from last week. Question, and we'll find out. But it'll be an interesting one. But I'm picking Chiefs.
By how many?
Oh, good point. Oh, no, I'll go with I'm sorry about. I'm going to go 15. Actually, that's a fair bit.
It is a fair bit. 3 scores, more than 2 scores. Jess?
Yeah.
It's our first home game for the season, so I think they'll be quite excited about that. I think probably 10. Chiefs by 10.
Ryan?
Chiefs by 20.
Oh.
Whoa! So we're all going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs by 10 as well. Jess is going to be there. Andre from the live chat is also going to be there, I think.
Hello.
So, so yeah. Enjoy that game, folks, and give us feedback. Yeah, trying to get to Hamilton. Chiefs by 10, says Andre. Yeah, Chiefs by 16. I think everyone's going for the Chiefs in that one. Highlanders versus Crusaders. Other way around. Ryan, kick us off.
This one's tough. I kind of expect the Crusaders to bounce back. So I'm going to give them the nod. Close one. Let's go Crusaders by 1.
Oh, Jess?
So I watched the Hurricanes Crusaders, and I felt that they were really missing something, not having Richie Mo'unga at 10. I thought that Mitchell Hunt looked really uncomfortable in that number 10. Maybe it was because his first game was against Bowden Barrett. I think that the Highlanders are going to do it. I just don't think that Mitch Hunt is there yet as a number 10 for them.
So how many?
7.
Ashwin?
Yeah, look, as long as they can keep the Crusaders pack under control, then I think the Highlanders. So basically, it's the Highlanders versus, as was discussed, the Crusaders pack and Jack Goodhue. So if they can control that, then the Highlanders win. I'm going to go. Yeah, not confident though, so I'm going to go by 3.
Cool. Floyd and Peak is also going to be at the Hamilton game, at the Chiefs game as well. So hey, so there'll be a whole crowd of you there. So all go well.
Not sold out already.
I got a code 2 for 1 if they want to follow me and get the code and get cheaper tickets.
There you go.
It's like a legit code. So
follow Jess's Twitter handle, and she'll tweet out afterwards the 2 for 1 deal to get Chiefs tickets. I'm not sure which show Josh is watching, but Josh in the live chat goes Blues by 3. We've not got to the Blues game yet, so
it's good to be faith, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's nice.
No matter who they play.
Sorry, I'm going Highlanders by 3 as well. Yeah, as you say, I'm another one of these ones that think they're a bit. They need Richard Mo'unga. Is a big loss. Brumbies versus the Sharks. Jess, you kick us off on this one.
Sharks by 7, and that's based on absolutely nothing. Sorry, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, if you see Andre at the Hamilton game, he will be happy with that because he's a Sharks supporter. Go.
So am I, apparently.
This one has all the excitement of some smelly socks. I'm going to call it a draw. Let's go a draw.
Ryan?
Man, the Brumbies have been one of the biggest disappointments of the competition so far. Sharks by 5.
We all don't care, eh?
Okay, see, this is the classic problem that Super Rugby has. We watch on a Friday and Saturday night, sometimes on Saturday night, where we get the New Zealand game first, and then it's followed by an Australia game. We need the world to spin the other way. We need Australia to come earlier in the day than New Zealand, so we warm up with the Australian game, and then we have the New Zealand game. We build up during the day. We don't start on a high and go down, which is unfortunately what happens. So I've got faith in the Brumbies. The Brumbies will bounce back. The Sharks have to travel. I've not been convinced by the Sharks, so I'm going Brumbies by 3. Stormers versus Blues. Now, obviously, Joshua's let us know that he thinks that Blues by 3 early doors. Ryan.
Well, I think that the Stormers travelling back is a huge tick in the Blues box. So I'm going to go Blues by 6.
Oh, a Blues supporter with confidence in his team. This is rare to see. Archwin, are you going to back this up?
Well, I picked the Blues by 20 against the Lions last week, so I'm going to go 20 again against the Stormers.
Blind faith.
Hey, how many people picked the Blues against the Lions last week? I did. Score. The difference might have been a bit off, but you know.
Jess, can you bring some normality back to the kids, please?
I honestly thought that the Stormers played really well against the Highlanders, and I think the Highlanders were lucky to have the margin that they had. So I'm going to say Stormers by 10.
Ooh.
Sorry, guys. But
Wow.
Got to live my truth.
I'm going Blues by 3, maybe heart over head. But yeah, Jack's gone Blues by 2. Christian's gone Blues by 6. So Jess is in the minority here, but maybe she's the voice of reason.
I saw them in person. Maybe I have the inside knowledge. You never know.
There we go. You never know.
A hater.
Let the haters hate. No. Okay, Lions versus who are they playing? Yes. Oh, the Sunwolves. How many folks? Because we all know the Lions are going to win. Archwin, kick us off.
Yeah, look, it's like points differential time for Lions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, you're looking at 30 plus.
Really?
Yes.
That much?
Yeah.
Jess, how many?
And on the back of the loss last week as well.
Yeah. Oh, Lions by 27.
You don't have to bother with the Lions, but we all know by who. To be honest, I'm sorry, but Ryan, and you've even got a shirt on from there. Was it from there, or was it from around the corner?
It's from Ellis Park.
Ellis Park.
Emirates Airlines Park.
There we go. So he's put his. I told him to go to get changed out of his funny yellow shirt to get into a proper jersey. So yeah, he's got his Ellis Park jersey on there. So come on, in. How many of the Lions going to beat the Sunwolves by?
60.
60. Oh, okay. Well, that's clearly rubbish. But anyway,
we will see.
we will see. Okay, fine. I think the Canes beat them by 80 once, but I can't see it being 60. I've got 35, and yeah, everyone's in the 30s to 40s range on the live chat. Again, there'll be much more interesting. Jaguares versus Reds. Who's going to give me their first prediction there?
Jaguares. I tipped them last week, and I think you poo-pooed me. So I'm going to go same margin by 10.
Jess?
Same as Ryan, honestly. Why not?
Obviously.
I'm just trying to avoid not saying the team name because I don't really know how to say it that well. So.
You could have picked the Red.
Yeah, but they're not going to win.
Jaguares.
Go on, Alfred.
How?
Yeah. No,
I think that.
Please don't spit all over your camera.
Hang on, I just have to clean it up. I think after I think the Jaguares had a good 20 against the Waratahs last week. If they can sort of channel that, use that. Obviously, we talked about their first 5. We talked about Creevy. If those guys can fire, I think I'll pick the Jaguares by 10.
I've got Jaguares by 3. I'm not sure that they'll be able to back up. And the Reds have been up and down. When they keep all their players on the pitch, they're actually quite decent. Their problem is keeping all their players on the pitch. So yeah, that's for that one. Joshua says, real question, is anyone going to watch it? Well, I'll tell you, the number of people who watched my Jaguares versus Tars post-match reaction, and that was the biggest one of the weekend out the Super Rugby game. So yes, quite a lot of people were interested. So yeah, no, I think it'll be that'll be a decent one.
A lot of Kiwis watch it. Sorry, Paul, but a lot of Kiwis watch it because it's fantastic viewing time in New Zealand about at 10 or 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Absolutely, and also I'm world famous in Argentina. Apparently, there's about 500 or 600 Argentinians watched watch the post match reaction as well for some reason. So thank you, all of you Argentinian listeners. Please do
Fly us over. We'll do a live match review.
Oh, there we go. Yes, live shows in for free if you fly us over.
It's only a convenient time for those people who have normal work hours, not People like me who stayed up all Sunday night covering live sport.
Oh.
Oh, hang on. So here's the guy. Please give me sympathy. I get paid for covering live sport. Oh yeah, no. We're all our hearts bleed for you, sir. Come do my 8:30 till 5 job in front of the desk. It's so much fun. Anyway, final match of the round that I think will also be an intriguing one: Waratahs versus the Inform Rebels. Their first game, or their first real game away. I mean, obviously they played the Sunwolves away, but it doesn't really count. So I think this is their first real test of the season. Ashwin, go on, give us some insight into this one.
Oh, look, I'm going with the Rebels. I think they've been the surprise package of the tournament this year, and they played attractive rugby. They've got a lot of smarts happening. They've got a lot of smarts happening out in the back line, especially with Guinea and the like. So I think if things get tight, I can see the experience in the Rebels coming through, and I'll go Rebels by 3.
Cool. Jess?
Rebels by 10.
Ryan?
Yeah, well, they have been a surprise package, and they're getting stronger because they're getting Corabetti back, which is a huge plus for them. Waratah's coming back from Argentina. I'm going to go with the Rebels as well. I think it might actually be a little bit more comfortable. I go Rebels by 13.
Well, Jack agrees with you in the chat. He's gone Rebels by 13. Andre makes a good point. Waratah's back from their round the world tour. He says they'll struggle in this game. So I think this comes down to, and Joshua makes a good point. Genia is a massive upgrade, yeah, and he is on a roll. But you do think that they are heavily reliant on Genia, and this comes down, and the Rebel season comes down to how long can Genia stay fit. And as long as he stays fit, I'm going to back the Rebels by 3 in this one as well. So happy birthday to my dad, by the way. It's his birthday today, and straight after this, I'm going to get off and wish him happy birthday on Skype. So I need to get going because obviously family counts first. But thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Let's left to right. Ashwin, how can people get hold of you during the week to talk all things rugby and obviously New Zealand politics?
NZ Fatso on Twitter is the best way to get hold of me.
Cool. Jess, obviously less of the politics, more of the rugby. And how can they get hold of you?
At JAM8391, and if you're listening and you want tickets to that game 2 for 1, I can hook you up with that.
Cool. Brett, you know, you are right. You are my family, my online family, who do keep me sane. Thank you very much for, yes, happy birthday to you, Brett, as well. And happy birthday, Go the Chiefs, says Floyd and Pig. Thank you. Yeah. Ryan, come on, where can people catch all the action this weekend and get hold of you for a chat?
Yeah, so make sure you've got the Tribe Sports app, so you can find that in the Play Store or the App Store. Just search Tribe Sports app. We'll have live commentary of all the Super Rugby games, all the Six Nations, live scoring all the European Rugby and the Super W. And if you want to follow me for lots of sporting hot takes, then at New York Nixon.
The Super W. What is the Super W?
Women's Super Rugby. Just Australia.
So yes, so catch up on all the women's, the women's Super Rugby, also the women's Six Nations. I'm assuming you're covering that as well. There were some. I had 3 rounds of perfect picks and then got all of them wrong this last weekend. So this it definitely shook things up last weekend. Some great results in the women's Six Nations, by the way. So do follow that. Obviously, I'll be giving my women's Six Nations and men's Six Nations in one recorded show. So we'll look out for that tomorrow night on YouTube. Anyway, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Always up for good rugby chat. Comments down below or on at DrivingMaul on Twitter. If you're listening to this on your podcasting app, then why not subscribe? It's just there. Just press the button. And obviously, 5-star review. Other stars are available. But why would you want to? My face is there for the recording, so please click on that subscribe or the red button down below, and there's my latest video. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute blast yet again, and I will be back on Thursday night with my Super Rugby Round 5 preview with Grit Sports and the Yellow Cap out of South Africa. Enjoy whatever rugby you're watching.